The African American woman is able to express their feelings openly and strongly towards the African American man. The indigenous African woman is being guarded by culture. A woman is not allowed to talk back to her husband. A woman is not allowed to argue with her husband. The indigenous African woman is tamed. The culture does not allow the indigenous African woman to talk back, to be expressive. They are tamed, but they have wild side also. The difference between the African American woman and the indigenous African woman is African American woman chooses to express herself, choose to argue with the African American man. Indigenous African woman knows when to keep quiet during argument. At a point, they stop talking because culture demands the woman to be quiet when a man is talking. So they stop talking. But the indigenous African woman still fights in her head with the African man. She fights silently. The moment she decides to be silent, she decides to keep quiet, does not mean the fight has stopped. The argument has stopped. They continue the fight silently. You can ask the African man. The African American woman will stand and argue with the African American man. And that is the difference between the indigenous African woman and the African American woman. So, passport bros, as you go to Africa to look for a wife, know that the indigenous African wife also have a wild side. When you pushed her, you will bring the beast out of her. She will become just like the African American woman here. To be able to marry an African woman, the African American man should go to the indigenous African man and learn their ways, their culture, how to handle the African woman, how to be a husband to the African woman. By going in an airplane, travel to the continent of Africa to look for a wife without learning the culture of that woman is disastrous. If the African American man is traveling to the continent to choose a wife, they have choices to go to where the light-skinned African women are or where the dark-skinned African women are. And as you get to Africa, there are so many cultures in the motherland or the fatherland. When you go, there are tribes, clans, all sorts of culture in the motherland. It depends where you choose from. If you choose from every culture, if you choose a wife from a culture, you have to learn the culture of the people. Learn the culture of the wife you are choosing. Africa is not just a country with one tribe. One country in Africa continent has so many dialects, so many culture. So when you go there to choose a wife, you have to learn the culture of that woman. Talk to the men. Let the men train you, or stay with the men, move with the men, and learn the culture of that African girl that you have chosen to marry. Before you bring them here, you were raised differently, and the African woman is also raised differently, from different culture. I come from Ghana. When you come to Ghana, there are so many cultures in Ghana, so many tribes, so many languages or dialects in Ghana. If you choose a woman from the northern part of Ghana, you have to learn the ways of the northern men. If you choose a woman from the southern or western or eastern or the Ashanti or the Volta, you have to learn from the men of that culture or that village or that city or that town. Learn the culture of the men, and then you know how to handle that woman. We all don't come from the same culture or the same clan. So when you enter into Nigeria, they have Igbo land, they have Yoruba, they have Biafra, they have all kinds of tribes in Nigeria. So when you see what is going on in the movies, the African movies, it depends what tribe it is. So when you decide to go to the continent of Africa, a country in Africa, to choose a wife, can you be a little bit patient and learn the culture of that woman before you bring the woman here to North America and you get big trouble? And know that the African woman has a beast in them also. They are binded and protected by culture. Otherwise, they are stronger as the African American here. And also, they are kings makers. The women in Africa, they install kings. So you see all the big kings, all the big chiefs and kings, they are made by women. The women are king makers. So they are strong. They have strong personality. They have strong will, just like the African American woman here. It's just that they don't talk back to men. They know when to stop. They know when to not to argue. They know when to not to go on to argue with the African man. We are trained that way. You get to a point, you stop. You don't argue with the husband. And we fight silently. We fight in our mind. We know how to fight, but we don't fight physically, verbally. Unlike the African American woman will verbally stand there and argue back and forth with you till she wins. A typical African woman don't do that. You start the argument with them, they will try to express themselves, whatever, and they will stop and continue the fight silently. It's called silent treatment. And our men knows they also apologize in chambers. They also apologize in the bedroom. So we make our men look strong. We make our men look like they have control. We make our men look like they are the head of the family because of culture. But then the man knows We rule in the family. But we allow them to rule in public. We allow them to rule in the community. But when we come to the chambers, they know we rule. They know. So to the African American man that is seeking a wife in Africa, know that there is beast in every woman. No. Are you able to stand in the shoes of the African man? The passport bros. Are you able and willing to fit in the shoe of the indigenous African man? We make our men look big, great, tall, authoritative, control. But there is a secret to it. There is a secret to it. They know that when it comes to who rule in the relationship, is the women. Is the women. So there is a secret to the big and great African man, the authoritative African man. There is a secret to it. So the African American man, the passport bros, are you ready to stand in the shoe of the African indigenous man? Trust me, when you go to choose a wife from Ethiopia, Eritrea, Algeria, Egypt, no, South Africa, West Africa, East Africa, every part of Africa, try and learn the culture of that woman. Learn the culture of the woman. It's very important. Don't just go and whisk her and bring her to America. You will have issue. Learn the culture. Humble yourself when you go. Humble yourself. Let the men teach you how to treat the women. And you will have no issue. And be ready and willing for a change. Be ready and willing to change. You were brought up in America. You have different culture. And the African woman have a different culture. So you should be ready and willing to humble yourself and learn to live with that woman. We are stronger than the African American woman. It's just that we are binded by culture and also tamed by culture and guided by culture. So we know when to stop arguing and argue silently. Thank you. Go to Africa and choose a wife. Learn the culture. Humble yourself and accept that woman. And teach that woman also your American culture. Thank you. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's a very new channel. Subscribe to it and click on the notification bell. So whenever I post a video, you can be notified. Thank you. Like my video. Thank you.